AM 560, The Answer.
The content and information on Real Estate Airwaves is for informational purposes only and should not be regarded as legal advice. Real Estate Airwaves does not provide legal advice and make no warranty or representation regarding the information on the show. Real Estate Airwaves shall not assume any liability for damages of any kind whatsoever relating to the use, misuse, or reliance of this information. The listener should conduct their own investigations, analysis, due diligence, draw their own conclusions, and make their own decisions. Any areas concerning taxes or specific legal or technical questions should be referred to lawyers, accountants, consultants, brokers, or other professionals licensed, qualified, or authorized to render such advice.
No fluff, no hype, no gurus. You're listening to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer. Get the inside information you need to find, fund, fix, and flip real estate in today's market. Joshua Ingalls and Vincent Pace share their secrets to minimize risk, maximize profit, and get deals done. We're pulling the curtain back and sharing the knowledge you need to succeed in real estate. And now, your hosts, Joshua and Vincent.
Thanks for tuning in. Today we are talking about managing construction, which this is the lifeblood of your business if you're fixing and flipping real estate. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. My name is Joshua Ingalls. I'm an active real estate investor here in the Chicagoland area. Over the last 3 years, we flipped over 60 fix and flip deals. I'm also an active real estate broker with United Real Estate.
And I'm Vincent Pace. I head up Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance. We provide short-term capital to real estate investors.
And today we've got my brother Juan in studio. He manages the large-scale renovations in our business. So thank you for joining us, Juan.
It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to talking about GC and jobs.
Awesome. So there's some different things we can talk about when it comes to hiring general contractors or perhaps even doing it yourself. Obviously, with hiring a general contractors, there are some benefits and there are some negatives. One of the big benefits is that if you hire a general contractor, you're not going to have to necessarily deal with all the subs and deal with all the moving parts versus if you were the general contractor yourself.
They'll also have the necessary pieces you need in terms of documentation. They'll have their license. They'll have insurance. The bottom line with it all is that they're going to save you time. So you're going to have more time to focus on other parts, such as finding deals, doing more deals.
Yeah, if you're being the GC on every deal you do, well, you can only do so much. So that is a benefit of hiring a general contractor. Now, the negatives is you're not in control of the timelines as much as you'd like to be. You're in less control, and it's really much harder to fire a general contractor than it is to fire a sub if you are the general contractor.
So then we can turn to actually being the GC. So Juan, can you tell us a little bit about what you think the benefits are? Because this is how you often operate.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a huge benefit to me. But one of the ways that I just love GCing projects is that we have more control over the cost of the project, and I think that's huge because these projects are pretty big, budgets of anywhere from $250 to $450, even higher, depending on how high end the home is. And your budgets could just go through the roof pretty quick if it's not under control. And I think that's one of the great benefits of being the GC. And again, the control. You're controlling the job, you're controlling your subs, you're controlling the timeline, and that's huge. And even the quality. You can deal directly with the subs. So if they don't do something right, boom, you hit the sub and say, hey, you need to step it up or change this, versus when the GC's managing it, then you got to approach the GC, and then he's got to approach the sub. So definitely control over the quality of the construction is huge.
We've seen this among our borrowers where, they're GCing their own project and they find some cheap supply material that they can bring on. A GC may or may not find, or may or may not find that for you, or may or may not bother if he does find it to bring it to you. He might use it on another project. And at the margins, they're not going to stress out about, saving you 5% or some small amount on materials, whereas you can have that at heart like the entire time you're looking at it.
Yeah, Juan, tell us a little bit about ordering inspections and why that's important if you're the general contractor.
Yeah, ordering inspections, what we found when we were hiring GCs is they wouldn't order the inspections in time. So then they would come back to us and say, well, I'm not where I wanted, where you wanted me to be because of the inspection delays. So one of the great things with being the GC is I can order the inspections, and I put that on my sub. I'm like, the inspection's ordered. It's going to be this day. You need to finish. I tell that to the plumber, the electricians, the framers. And what it does is it creates a sense of urgency. So not only do you use it as you're controlling the timeline more, but now you're using it as a way to get your subs to perform at a higher level as well. And that's the timelines can, again, with these big projects, they can just fall way behind. So
yeah, and a great point of the way that you do that is these subs can't get paid until it passes the inspection.
Correct, and that's huge. So they're motivated as well to get the to meet that and to hit the deadline of when I've ordered the inspection. And typically I'll order them in Chicago 2 to 3 weeks out, depending on how backed up the city is.
How often do you find that they struggle meeting that deadline and you have to reschedule?
I've found that to be, I would say, about 25% of the time I have to reschedule, and usually it's due to weather delays. But if you sit down and take the time, the great thing with GCing is you at the very beginning, it's important. You sit down and you have to lay out your timeline for the project. If you don't do that from A to Z, you need to lay it out, and it's going to change. It's going to change throughout the project. You're going to fall behind. You're going to get ahead. The weather delays. So if you lay it out and you give the proper time for your subs to do their job, and then I always add in an extra cushion of a day or two of what they tell me. So that allows me to hit that more often and not have to change, reschedule the inspections.
One huge inspection, if you're in the city of Chicago, you want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time for that inspection, is the HVAC inspections. For whatever reason, in the city of Chicago, they're way behind by several weeks. So, again, being the general contractor gives you control of that, and you can really, really get these jobs done in a timely manner. Because if you hold on to a house for 6 months versus 12 months, that could be the difference between, depending on the size of the job, when we're doing $250,000 to $400,000 renovations, that could be a profit difference of $50,000 or possibly more.
So, Juan, you've covered some of the benefits of GCing it yourself. What are some of the negatives, some of the challenges in doing that?
Well, some of the negatives are the paperwork, and that starts out with having a license. So there's a lot of, you have to get your insurance, you have to then submit it to the city, you have to renew every year. And if you're doing jobs in other villages or towns and cities, then that adds the complication because they may have different requirements than the city of Chicago might have. So that's a big thing is the paperwork. I mean, most people don't like paperwork, and that's what I found is a lot of the GCs that we used to hire, I would have to end up doing the paperwork anyway. So it's a negative, but I still had to do it as well. So that's a big negative. And then the other thing is you don't always need, for the city of Chicago, it's actually kind of nice because they don't require permits for some stuff, like siding, windows, roof. And so there are a lot of roofers out there, for example, just as a tip, there are a lot of roofers out there in Chicago that don't have a state license. I would still get somebody with a state license, but these guys do stuff all the time because the city doesn't necessarily require it. So that's some negatives, the insurance, and then there's a greater time commitment. Again, you're sitting down and you're laying out the schedule, and that could take anywhere from 2 to 4, even a whole day to lay out the schedule, depending on how much you're doing, how big the project is. And so just right there, you're spending that time, and then you're having to go, or you hire someone to go do the inspections to verify that your subs are doing their jobs and finishing on time. And then you got to find subs, and you got to vet them, go look at jobs of theirs, and then you're handling a lot more as far as that's concerned. And again, going back to the GC, they have all those guys. At least you hope they do. Sometimes they don't even have that, but that's it's just a greater time commitment to manage the GC.
Yeah, we've found that it's a lot easier to find high-level subcontractors than it is to hire high-level general contractors. For example, our plumber that we use, sometimes our architect might have left something out of the drawing that was supposed to be in there, and the plumber knew to do that, and of course he didn't charge us for doing that. So having the high-level subs and controlling yourself, you have a bunch of positives. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the schedule, which is so important to keep your jobs moving forward in a timely manner, that we use on all of our projects. We'll see you soon.
Mortgage rates are still near historic lows. If you're looking to buy your first home, upgrade, downsize, invest, or refinance, contact Matthew Ewald from Draper & Kramer Mortgage Corp. Matthew has been a trusted mortgage consultant for over 13 years and has options to fit your unique needs. With 40-plus investors, call Matthew today at 630-376-0484. That's 630-376-0484. Or apply online at mortgagechicagoland.com. Company NMLS 2551, NMLS 198323, Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee, Equal Housing Lender.
If you want to do real estate deals, you need to learn the systems. Visit fliptoriches.com for info on workshops happening the first Tuesday of every month. Meet me, Joshua Ingalls, and other active real estate investors in the Chicagoland area. We give the most value possible with networking and information for new and seasoned investors. We meet the first Tuesday of every month at 3009 North Kedzie in Chicago at 6 p.m. Check out fliptoriches.com. That's fliptoriches.com for all the info now.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. It's all about making money with real estate. Now, back to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about managing the construction, which is so crucial to your success in this business if you're going to be fixing and flipping real estate. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the actual schedule that we use with our subcontractors, which is going to be vitally important for you if you want to take on a $200,000 renovation or more, to know the proper steps of what needs to be done in what order. The first 50 people to contact us will get that, and the number is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. Now, in this segment, we're going to be talking about managing a general contractor. So just like Juan was talking about in the last segment, using a calendar is something you're also going to want to do when you hire a GC. And what you should be doing is having a weekly meeting, at least, with that contractor to see where the job is at, and if they're behind on their schedule, how do we catch back up?
You should keep in close touch with them. I mean, one of these things we've seen among our borrowers is that there's sort of a correlation between how frequently they're with the contractor at the site and how smoothly the deals go. You know, we have some that, you know, they work a full-time job. Every day after work, they go to the job site, meet up with the contractor, see what got done that day. Now, you don't need to be quite that intrusive if you don't want to. It doesn't hurt. We've got others who do it once a week, and they still manage to get things done smoothly. But the level of contact you have with your GC is going to greatly ensure that they stick to that schedule that you set with them.
You know, we talked about ordering inspections. Make sure that they have ordered the inspection. So again, it's almost like we're kind of doing their job, but making sure that they're doing that so that the inspections happen and they can't blame, well, we were waiting on an inspection and that's why the project got delayed.
And again, that's pulled straight from the calendar. You have that built into the calendar. They'll know on this date, at this point, they need to make that call to get that inspection ordered.
You know, another thing is you want to make sure they have their subs scheduled. So, for example, if they have a plumber that's supposed to be coming in 2 weeks, they're not calling them a day before. I know, Juan, we've worked with a contractor. Tell us a little bit about how he used to have his plumbers come to the job site for the Monday.
Oh, yeah, that was it always frustrated me because I would go to the job site and I'd look at where we were at, and I'm like, okay, so the plumber's coming, right? He's like, hold on a second. So then he'd go off for 5 minutes, call the plumber and said, oh, he can't be here, so I'm going to call another guy. And so rather than, we had laid out the schedule with him, rather than taking the time and having called and prepped his plumber to come out there and do the job 2 weeks ahead of time, he would call the guys there when I would, talk to him. And so that's where, again, it goes back to staying on top of your GC and having a minimum of a weekly meeting with them to ensure that the right guys show up at the right time. Because if not, again, every little delay, you get a day here, a day there. Before you know it, you're 6 months behind, and now you're losing all your potential profit.
Yeah, on the last episode, we talked about how important it is to have a payment schedule as well. So when you're paying your general contractor, you need to stick to this payment schedule based on milestones. Again, if they want to get paid, but all the work on that milestone is not completed, you go back to the payment schedule and you say, hey, I'd love to pay you, but you said the roof was going to be done. And you take the blame off of yourself and you use the document because they actually helped you create that payment schedule. And so if they want to get paid, well, they're going to have their crew out there on Sunday afternoon to get that roof done so that way they can pay their guys.
We mentioned earlier visiting the job sites, and there's some sort of tips and tricks to that. One thing you're going to want to do is you're not going to want to visit the job sites at the same time all the time. If your routine is that you show up there every day at 4:30, where they're going to know if they're there at 3:30 and they look like they're working, they've got it covered. So you want to mix it up. Maybe it's not the same time every week that you go, and maybe you just show up at random, and you should get an understanding of when they're going to be there. Are they going to be there from 7 to 3? Are they going to be there from 9 to 5? Whatever the timing is, you make sure that you're there within various points in that time frame over the course of the time that they're supposed to be working there.
Yeah, and if you do a job site visit and no one's there, you can actually charge a penalty if you put this into the independent contractor agreement. Again, this may be limited to maybe we're waiting for an inspection, but if it's a sunny day and they're supposed to be doing siding and a roof and no one's out there doing work, well, we're going to hit them with a penalty. Another good point is you want to continuously, the more you go to this job site, it's better. Sometimes we can catch problems before they put a wall up. So I know, Juan, you've come into situations where you walk in and they might be doing something not to our specifications.
Oh, yeah, that happens quite often. So what we would do is, bring the correction as quick as possible, and that's the key. You have to be there to catch those things because sometimes your general contractor is not as vested in the project as you are. They're just looking to get paid, and so they may not follow the specs, or even the specs may not be very clear for them on the blueprint. So definitely you always want to go there, check the job site, and then verify that their framing, the measurements are correct, verify that stuff is where you want it to be, and sometimes you have to deviate from the plans, unfortunately. And that again, you need to be there to make those decisions. And sometimes you have to be available within a day because, again, if you're not available, now your GC will use that as an excuse as, well, we needed to make a decision and you weren't around. Because the measurements just didn't work with what the architect provided us, and now they're using another excuse as to why the job isn't moving forward. When reality is they could have done other stuff, but the availability of you going to the job site is so critical to keep this stuff moving forward.
I was on site with a borrower at one of his projects, and we walked into what was to be the laundry room, and even at a glance, it looked kind of narrow and kind of strange. And sure enough, we took measurements, and they had made it about 1.5 feet too small, which would have meant that the washer and dryer, which are on the same wall as the utility sink, just wouldn't have fit. They would have had to rejigger the whole thing. And the wall that needed to be moved was the one that was going to have the pipes in it. So it would have been a huge mess if that hadn't been caught very early in the framing stage. So it just emphasizes the importance of being there regularly to catch these kinds of mistakes that can ultimately get costly.
Yeah, and keep in mind, if you've got to really stay on your general contractor on a daily basis, you may want to think about getting your own general contracting license. I mean, that's kind of why we got our license. We saw most of the dominant players in Chicago. The person that purchased the property and the contractor had the same address. And so Juan and I talked about, well, if we really want to scale this and really do quality work and do it on our timelines, we're going to have to take ownership and actually become the general contractor.
So another big point, and we touched on this in our previous episode about finding contractors, is that you don't want to overload a contractor. Now, when you're actually getting one, you want to try and do your best due diligence on this to figure out what's going on with them. But then once you find a good one, you might have them do one deal with you, and they're doing great. But will they do the same if you give them 5? Probably not. So you want to scale up carefully with them and kind of constantly confirm that the workload that you're putting on them is something they can actually handle with the teams they have in place.
Yeah, Juan, tell us a little bit about the one-job policy we have with the contractor before we give them more.
Yeah, so we learned it the hard way. Let's just put it that way. But what we would do is, because it takes a lot of work to find a good general contractor, you got to screen through a bunch of different people, bids, and all that stuff. So one of the things we used to do is we'd get a GC and, oh man, this guy's great, and then we'd give him a whole bunch of jobs. Well, it killed us. And so right now what we do is we have a policy. If we use a GC, we'll only use them for one job at a time until we know that they can handle more than one job. So they have to at least complete one job before we'll give them another job. Now, it's not the same with a subs, because subs, they don't have a 6-month project. They're just there for little things. But even then, with a sub, we still want them to at least complete, for a plumber, for example, we would want them to at least complete the underground, see the quality and the speed that they move, or maybe even all the way to the rough-in to then, okay, this guy's going to be great. Let's bring him on to another job.
We've seen this happen. We've seen the bad end of this. We saw one contractor who was involved in a number of deals, some with us, some with our borrowers, some without. And we knew of at least 6 or 7 deals he was involved in, and it just spread him too thin. He tried to delegate to a superintendent that just wasn't capable of taking on the task. And the result was that every one of the deals blew up. The construction lagged. He ended up in litigation. Total mess.
The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the schedule that we use to manage our projects so we can do it successfully.
You're an investor, a lender in commercial real estate, or you're an attorney, and you use a title company. National Title Solutions wants a chance to be your title company. Give them a shot at your business, and you'll find out why they're the best choice. Most title companies keep banking hours and have no flexibility. National Title Solutions will do whatever it takes on your timetable. You'll save money, too. Give them an opportunity and see the difference. Convenient offices all over. National Title Solutions. Call 800-NTS-2700. 800-NTS-2700. Mortgage rates are still near historic lows. If you're looking to buy your first home, upgrade, downsize, invest, or refinance, contact Matthew Ewald from Draper & Kramer Mortgage Corp. Matthew has been a trusted mortgage consultant for over 13 years and has options to fit your unique needs. With 40-plus investors, call Matthew today at 630-376-0484. That's 630-376-0484. Or apply online at mortgagechicagoland.com. Company NMLS 2551, NMLS 198323, Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee, Equal Housing Lender.
The Chicagoland Real Estate Investment Group invites you to build your network in real estate investing and learn from the region's experts. There's no charge to attend, and there won't be any hard sell for expensive courses. Join us on the 4th Monday each month in the North Shore. For more information, visit us at meetup.com/ChicagolandREI. Again, that's meetup.com/ChicagolandREI. Meetup.com/ChicagolandREI.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. and they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. Now, back to the show that gives you the insider info. Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about how to manage construction, which is so crucial to your business if you're going to be fixing and flipping real estate. And we're giving out an actual tool which will allow you to schedule jobs that are $200,000 and up, so you know the proper order of how the job should be run. The number is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you could visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting that schedule. Now, Juan, what is one of the ways that you get subcontractors when you are the general?
Josh, that's an excellent question. I think one of the best ways that we do to get that is we've tried so many different ways, but the best way is to go and drive around and find active job sites where you see guys working. And so, you know, you may think, oh, they have a fence around the project. I can't go in there that says keep out. Well, I don't recommend, you know, to disobey that stuff, but just talk to the guys, and you know, that's the best way to do it. And the best time typically is as the project is getting towards the end, because you'll typically have the electrician in there, the plumber in there, you'll have a trim guy in there, and you know, all these different guys are typically working towards the end of the project. So always the best place to find these guys are guys that are actively working. There are other ways you can do it, through Craigslist, through different types of services out there to do that. But the difference is this way is, you know, these guys are doing work now. And because we've talked to a lot of plumbers that aren't even doing work, and they're looking for work. And that kind of concerns me when right now it's hard to find guys in the city. And so if there are guys that are looking for work, well, that probably means either A, their quality is not there, or they don't move at the speed that you need them to.
Another great point about going there towards the end of a project is, you know, they're about to end a project. If they may not have another one lined up, so you can step in and scoop them up for your upcoming project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're looking for a different type of subcontractor than, for example, if I'm going to hire somebody to change out one light switch in my home and they're going to charge me $500 to do that, that's not the type of electrician we're looking for. We're looking for an electrician that can do an entire house. They're almost a commercial type subcontractor. And then also, I know you don't necessarily have a scope of work or an independent contractor with each sub. So what do you use for documentation? We obviously have the scope of work for the job. We have the charts and that sort of thing. But what do you use with each of the subs?
Different methods, but one of the ways that with the subs, the main controlling document are the blueprints from the architect when you're dealing with these large scale jobs. Don't try to do a large-scale job using just like words to describe stuff. You need to have actual full set of blueprints. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. And the city of Chicago won't approve your permits anyways if you don't have that. But that's the controlling document as far as like how things are laid out and whatnot. But then when it comes to the finishes, you have to have some kind of a material list. You could set up something with your vendor that will put together a package for you showing, okay, in this bathroom, we're going to put in this fixture. You know, we'll do Grohe faucet with a Hans Grohe shower with a Kohler toilet, whatever. And so it lists out bathroom by bathroom or room by room what fixtures, finishing products you are in there. And you need that before you even rough in. And the reason for that is you need to know what valves are going to get roughed in, the plumber is going to put in, and so on and so forth. So that's one way to do it. So set it up with your vendor. You could use a local vendor. Another thing is, or hire a designer. Interior designer will set these packages for you, tile, lighting fixtures, flooring, colors, all that stuff. So you want to be as specific as possible with the materials list to ensure that you're receiving or are getting the vision that you have in your mind of what the house should look like.
And what about the actual legal documentation with the sub? How do you normally tackle it?
Well, we used to do independent contractor agreements with each sub per job, and that just got really tedious. So one of the ways we do that now is we actually do just a master agreement, and essentially, have an attorney draw up a master agreement. This is how the big box stores do. They hire all their carpet installers and tile installers. They have a master agreement, and then how that works is then you send your sub. After you have this master agreement, you send your sub a PO specifying the scope of work and the job site and all that stuff. So, and the PO always, or work order, you could do that as well, always refers back to the master agreement. And that simplifies the amount of paperwork you actually have to put together. And
then what about the calendar that you you share with the subs?
So the calendar, we use software that is specifically geared towards general contractors or builders. And so included in that is a calendar. Some people I know, some general contractors that we've worked with in the past will use Google calendars and such not. But there is other stuff you can use out there to manage these projects.
Again, the calendar is so critical, so you keep your project on track. And so if a project takes 6 months, or it's supposed to, you actually get it done in 6 months. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the schedule we use.
Real estate agents are cheap. Many agents will only market your home on the MLS and put a sign up. Demand more. Joshua Ingalls invests in aggressive marketing, including high-def video, 3D virtual tours, professional photography, a custom website, and mailers, so you can get the most amount of money for your home in the shortest amount of time. Call Joshua Ingalls, broker with United Real Estate Chicago, at 630-544-1504 for a free home valuation, or visit HomeTeamIL.com to learn more.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. Now, back to the show with real estate info you won't find anywhere else. Real Estate Airwaves is on AM 560, The Answer.
Today we are talking about managing construction. In this segment, we want to focus on payments, how, when, where, and why. The whole picture of when you're going to pay. So the first big point is you want to avoid upfront payments for labor. So you want to stay ahead on work and behind on payments, which means they're getting work done before you're paying for it. If you have a GC who says, oh, no, I need money up front, and they absolutely can't. I mean, they'll often ask you for this, but you want to try and stay firm. If they can't get the job done without you putting some money up front, it's probably not a GC you want to work with, because what that basically means is that they're not floating enough cash to kind of float their operations for their business. It's a good sign you want to kind of move on to the next. Now, with subs, you may need to be a little less strict. Subs are typically running a smaller operation, although it's still a good policy with them to the extent you can enforce it. You just may need a little bit more leniency there. The benefit of this whole process, this whole policy, is that if a contractor walks off, or if they need to be let go for some reason, you're not going to be in a position where you need to chase them down for money. You didn't pay them $5,000 for the next piece of the work, and they walked off before they did it, or you had to let them go before they did it. Now they're sitting with $5,000 of your money. You want to make sure that you're always paying them after their services have been rendered.
Yeah, sometimes if it's a subcontractor, like what Vince said, some ways we get around that is we might pay for the materials versus paying them directly. And the same is true with the general contractor. If they need that money for the materials, that's a way that we can do that without paying them money for the labor. So another thing is if you're hiring a GC, Juan, I know we had this happened before in the past where we'd pay a general contractor and then his subcontractors weren't getting paid.
Yes, that's a big one that happens quite a lot, and I've heard horror stories from other people. But yeah, I had we did this project, and I had this concrete guy call up and say, "Hey, you owe me money. I'm going to put a lien on the property." I'm like, "What do you mean I owe you money?" Well, come to find out, I had paid the GC, and then he did not pay the concrete guy. And the reason he told me is because the concrete guy was, mouthing off to him and stuff. And I'm like, I don't care. I paid you the money. Why did you not pay the concrete guy? And to just resolve the issue, I ended up having to pay the concrete guy. And then I took it out of the GC's payment later on. But, that's just so what we ended up doing is we actually started paying the subs ourselves. And, so that's what started leading to us GCing our own jobs, because we ended up doing all the payments to the subs. So one of the ways, if you're going to continue with GCs, require that the subs that you pay the subs directly, and then get lien waivers from them as well. That's the key here. Get lien waivers. All the title companies here in Chicago carry some form of lien waiver. Get some from them, and you implement them in your business, or have your attorney draw something up. But that's huge. And then also have your GC sign those lien waivers as well.
So there's obviously a trade-off here. You have the plus of being safe from these liens. If you're getting the lien waivers from the subcontractors because you're paying them yourself, they got their money, so you can rest easy that they're not going to put a lien on there. The con, of course, is now you're paying them. Now you're dealing with an administrative burden of getting money to them, making sure the work is done before they get paid, et cetera, which might lead you to say, hey, I'm just going to GC it myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, another thing you want to really keep in mind is to add a cost for delays. If you're hiring a general contractor, for example, Juan, I know when we take on jobs for other investors, because we do, one of the things we offer, why don't you talk about what we're doing with Lou, with paying the interest?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that we offer is, just to show people that we're serious about getting these jobs done on time, is we take on, we suggest the penalty ourselves, because, we need to be held accountable too as a general contractor. And I like that. Actually, I like that pressure. I operate under pressure. I'm one of those people that will put stuff off and then last minute operate. But I don't run my the GC in that way. But that's kind of the thing that really gets me, knowing that if I don't get this job done, it's going to cost me money. It's going to cost my family money. It's going to cost the business money. And so those are things that we implement, and I would highly recommend that you do that too as well, that you implement that with your GCs, that you give them some kind of chargeback if they don't finish the job when they're supposed to, and make sure you enforce it. Enforce it. You have to enforce the contract all the way through. If you don't enforce at the beginning, then when you get to the end, it's a little too late, and actually if you were to go to court, they're going to be like, well, you weren't enforcing it. It didn't really hold any water. So make sure you enforce every aspect of the job, and get change orders for timeline changes and all that stuff as well.
This really puts teeth into a delay. They know that they just can't, delay a week and then give you a call, say, oh, whatever happened and I need more time. If there's teeth in it, contractually obligated teeth, you're going to be under much more pressure to just get the work done and not try and find an excuse for a delay. Now, you do want to make this reasonable. So, they might say, hey, I need 4 weeks to get all this done. You say, okay, look, I'll give you 5 because I know things might happen, whatever. But then after that 5 hits, that's when you have to enforce. Josh, what typical numbers have you charged on these kinds of delays? Like what's normal?
Usually we're going to be charging $100 per diem, meaning every day that is over the agreed contract, which we're generous with, we are actually going to be charging them $100 per day. With our investors that we do job work for, sometimes we'll even impose a bigger penalty for ourselves because we know it costs more than $100 per day with every delay. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the schedule we use with our contractors. See you soon.
You're an investor, a lender in commercial real estate, or you're an attorney, and you use a title company. National Title Solutions wants a chance to be your title company. Give them a shot at your business, and you'll find out why they're the best choice. Most title companies keep banking hours and have no flexibility. National Title Solutions will do whatever it takes on your timetable. You'll save money, too. Give them an opportunity and see the difference. Convenient offices all over. National Title Solutions. Call 800-NTS-2700. 800-NTS-2700.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. It's all about making money with real estate. Now, back to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
Today we've been talking about managing construction on your real estate investment deals. So we started kind of bifurcating it. So do you GC it yourself or do you hire a GC? And the crux of that question ultimately comes down to time versus paying someone else to spend the time. So if you want to spend the time, if you want to get the paperwork together, if you want to have control, that's the big benefit of GCing it yourself. You'll want to do it in a way where you're in charge, you're the GC. If you want to spend your time elsewhere, if you want to spend more time looking for more deals and you want to delegate it out, then you're going to want to hire a GC, which can present certain challenges that we covered in actually last week's episode when we talked about finding a GC. Then we discussed when you do hire a GC, how do you actually manage them? We talked about the importance of putting together a calendar that specifies milestones and various events that have to happen in the course of your construction project. Together with that calendar, you have a payment schedule that says when you actually get paid over the course of the progress through that calendar. We talked about the need to visit job sites. The more frequently you need to visit it, the more likely you may wake up one day and say, I'm just going to GC it myself. But even if you're not, you do want to be a regular presence on the job sites. And maybe we should call that an irregular presence in that you don't know when you're going to show up. It might be Monday morning. It might be Friday afternoon. Keeps them on their toes. Make sure that they know that they need to be working consistently because you could show up at any time out of the blue. We then talked about how if you find a great GC, you're not going to want to overload them. You're going to want to kind of work into it with them. Josh mentioned that he uses a rule that they have to complete one deal before they'll get more deals from them. So you grow it naturally with them and make sure you test their capacity step by step so that you're not overloading them and resulting in a problem in terms of delays and getting the job done and perhaps even costs. We talked about managing construction when you're the GC yourself. In that case, your big issue is, or one of the big things you're going to spend time on is just finding subs, where to get them, and how to find good ones. Again, you're going to need a calendar that aligns all these subs in terms of when they're coming in, who's doing what, at what time something gets started. And we also spoke briefly about, the software tools out there. You can get software tools that help you manage this whole process. There's a variety of those out there that you can find by simply Googling for them. Then we focused on how to pay, how you want to avoid upfront payments, for labor generally, and upfront payments on materials may be okay. Great if you can avoid those too. We talked about considering paying subs directly, which is basically a trade-off of you get protected by paying them directly, but you have to deal with the headache of paying them directly. And we also talked about adding costs to delays. You make any delays in the project have teeth so that the contractor knows that, hey, if I'm late, I'm losing money.
Yeah, and Juan, I know that you do jobs for other investors. What's the best way for people to contact you?
They can just give me a call at 708-846-8340. Again, that number is 708-846-8340. And we're currently only taking jobs on in Chicago.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, we're looking for larger jobs. If you're just looking for your house to be painted, we are not your contractor. And also, we wish you could join us on February the 18th. We are actually going to be visiting some of our active job sites. We're going to be sharing with you how to manage those jobs and how to do the construction. You can visit fliptoriches.com. That's fliptoriches.com for that schedule of meetings. And thanks again for joining us. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the schedule that we use with all of our subs and contractors. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer. Come back next Sunday at noon for more insider real estate information from Joshua and Vincent. You can listen to past shows, contact them, and get free exclusive content at realestateairwaves.com. That's realestateairwaves.com.